I am Justin Boyd.
And I'm a Roy apologist.
Tristan Jones.
And we are the Watchers in the Basement. Welcome to the Watchers in the Basement. We are here today to discuss the season 4 premiere of the award-winning HBO series Succession. Now, Succession is the 4th and final season of the show, but it's the first time we've talked about it on the Watchers. So before we break down episode 1 of season 4, I want to get everybody's let's talk about, go around the room, talk about your history with the show, maybe when you started watching it. Who's your favorite character if you have one? I know that might be hard to pick because there's so many of them that are kind of awesome, and also you probably hate a lot of them. And then maybe what's your favorite moment from the first 3 seasons? So Frank, I'll kick it off with you. What's your history with the show, favorite character and favorite moment?
What's funny about it, like I first heard about it with you, Justin. I mean, I'm gonna use something in the office, and then Tristan doing COVID 2020. Tristan was doing like a rewatch, and he was like, "Man, you gotta get on the show." So I was like, "Okay." My rule is once I hear 2 people talk about it in my group, like confirm it, I give in, I watch it. Dog, from the first episode, I was in love. Like one of my favorite scenes till this day is episode 1 when the little Hispanic kid is offered like $1 million to like hit a home run.
Oh yeah.
And Rome fucks him out of the check, and he writes the check and he tears in front of his face. And I'm like, yeah, that's a guy I can get behind. Like he's, by the way, he's my favorite character, by the way, too. Like he's a degenerate, he's a fuck up. I still think there's more to it to him from his tortured childhood that hasn't been unveiled yet. But it's just a smart show, man. Like it's a smart show. It shows that just because you have money, just because you have power and influence, doesn't mean that your family is devoid of drama, dysfunction. It's just genius, man. I love how these kids are just vying for control of this company that none of them can control, and none of them are ill-equipped to run. And the beauty behind it is that Roy is his worst enemy because he created all of this. So
yeah, no, that's a good point. So Frank is a Roman Roy guy. Tristan, who's your favorite character, and when did you start watching all that good stuff?
My favorite character is Cousin Greg. Big Cousin Greg fan. Not a fan of Cousin Greg as a person or anybody of him as a person, but like Greg, I love when he's on screen. I love every scene with Greg. I love the trajectory that he's been on since literally episode 1. I started watching Succession probably about a year after it first aired, or about some months after it first aired. I remember watching the pilot, and I'm just like, I don't understand anything they're saying, and I just couldn't get behind it, right? And so I came back probably a few months later, maybe a year later, and rewatched it, and was like, I have no idea what I was tripping on the first time. I love this shit, like, and then I've been a dedicated viewer ever since, but damn, I really wish you would have asked this like hours ago. My favorite moment, I hope this isn't recency bias, but the whole season 3 is a great moment, but particularly the finale. I remember watching the finale. It was about early in the morning. We were in Philadelphia. Me and Frank were in Philly. And I woke up like hours before him. I was like, oh, great time to get into Succession. And I just remember being so tense. Like there's so many tense moments. You know what? My favorite moment is when Logan gets all the kids into the room at their little resort. This is after Tom has obviously sold Shiv out, and he just tells them like, "Hey, you lost," and like the just pure cold heart is like, "You lost. I beat you." Like and I loved it so much because it kind of wrapped up, which is like the main, conflict in the show is like, it's really Logan versus his kids. And he's been playing them against each other. And they finally got like their first real sniff of like unity. And he just crushed them. He just completely crushed them and used their own mother to do it. Like that's some cold shit, boy. Logan Roy, that's a cold motherfucker, boy. So yeah, that's my favorite moment. And yeah, I think it's the best show on TV. Like just bar none, best show on TV.
Yeah, no, I agree.
After Brian comes back.
What's that?
until House of the Dragon comes back.
It's a better show than House of Dragon. It's not more entertaining.
It doesn't have as many viewers, which I was kind of staggered to find out today that like this show doesn't have a ton of viewers. I mean, it's got like compared to like The Last of Us, which is a smash hit, or like Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon, it does like 500,000 every week with the episodes, whereas these other shows do, 10 million.
It reminds me of like Mad Men to that effect. Like
Right.
Mad Men was a highly, critically acclaimed show that it wasn't doing in the 5 to 10 millions. It was like 700,000, to 1 million a week,
Right.
But it was consistent, it reminds me of that.
Yeah, no, this is a great show. I hate to say it's my favorite show because there's so many shows I like, but this is just such a unique show. And Tristan, like you, I didn't watch the first season. I was aware of it. I listened to a lot of podcasts, and like literally this show is like probably the most beloved show on podcasts and on the internet probably. Anyway, I didn't start watching until like season 2. Me and my girlfriend, we were like looking for something to watch. So we started watching this one as season 2 was coming out. So we like binged season 1, caught up with it, watched season 2 kind of as it was happening. And, the thing about this show that makes it unique is it's a show that kind of similar to the best parts of Game of Thrones. It's a show that features a lot of scenes of people talking in rooms, right? But Game of Thrones was very good at this also. But with this show, the action often is you're seeing these people like do like verbal sparring, tons of insults, like verbal jujitsu, like watching these characters that are all like gunning for this, to be the future king, if you will, of this company, Waystar Royco. And that part of it is just it's endlessly entertaining. I think this is like one of the funniest shows, if not the funniest show on TV. And it's not truly meant to be a comedy. I think it's like a dark comedy / drama, but it delivers the comedy really well. It's very well written. And so my favorite character is Kendall Roy. I really I just enjoy how he's this guy who he has to seem like his whole persona is he has to be cool. Like everything about him is like trying to be hip. He tries to be like a bro sometimes. And one of my favorite scenes was the time that they were celebrating, his dad, Logan. It wasn't his birthday, but it was some kind of like celebration for Logan Roy. And then Kendall burst,
the rap.
yeah, like, which is like insane. But honestly, I think the best scene with Kendall and probably the most tense scene was the season 2 finale, where Kendall he's made to be the fall guy for what's happening with their cruise lines, their situation with their cruise lines. And he's at the press conference and he's supposed to admit guilt and take the bullet for the team. He's the blood sacrifice or whatever. And at the last second, he turns the tables and implicates his dad in all this wrongdoing. And it's just like an awesome moment. And in that moment, you see Logan Roy watching his son on TV. And it's one of those moments where he's like finally proud of his son because he told him, he's like, "You're not a killer." And in that moment, Kendall became a killer. And of course, in season 1, he actually did kill somebody. It was accidental. But this show is it's off the charts. It's bonkers. I think Marcy's right there with me. Kenny's her number 1 boy also. So that's awesome. Good. We have a good Kendall. We're kindred spirits with Kendall, I guess you could say.
Your best boy,
right? I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that the theme song for this show by Nicholas Britell, I believe, is so damn good. And it's like, to me, it's as iconic and right there up there with the Game of Thrones song. It's like one of those ones.
I watched a video this weekend of like him somebody was just recording him just kind of playing around with the piano. Like every sound he made was like eerie. Like it was just like the theme song. Like it's really an iconic theme song.
It just like anytime I hear that thing, like it's one of the few shows, it's the only show really that I don't skip the theme song. I've listened to it 40 times now. And like it's one of those things where when I hear it, the memory it gives me is that it gives off the homage that the throne is here. Take it. who's next in line. That the dun, 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 like especially when it goes up and like it's showing the family as kids, like the boy, the 4 kids, and like it's like who's taking the throne type vibe, and it's just so damn good, man. It really is.
Sound like some shit Kendall would try to rap to.
So
808 now, he'll be all right.
Yeah. So just a little like table setter for those if you don't know anything about Succession, I'll just explain real quickly. So it's created by Jesse Armstrong. It's basically a fictitious view of the Murdoch family who owns Fox and Fox News and Fox Sports and all that stuff. It's this, company, this media conglomerate that's run by the patriarch of the family, Logan Roy. The cast includes Brian Cox, who plays Logan Roy. Jeremy Strong is Kendall Roy. You have Kieran Culkin, plays Roman Roy. The sister, or Logan's daughter, is played by Sarah Snook, is Siobhan Roy, Shiv for short. You have her husband, or maybe her ex-husband soon, in Tom's Wobsgams. Is that how you say his name? Yeah, Wobsgams, who's played by Matthew Macfadyen, which Matthew Macfadyen, I don't know if y'all have been paying attention, but this week he was cast in Deadpool 3. So
saw that.
Even another reason why Deadpool 3 should be one of the best movies of 2024 or 2025. I'm not sure. I think it's 2024. Anyway, but to finish the cast, you have cousin Greg, played by Nicholas Braun. You have Connor Roy, the eldest of the Roy kids, and probably the biggest joke of them all, played by Alan Ruck. And you have Jerry, one of Logan's trusted people, played by J. Smith Cameron. So that's kind of the setting the table for the show. As I mentioned before, this is the final season of the show, which it's like only the 4th season. And before we break down the premiere, I want to ask y'all: do you think this is the right time for this show to end?
Yes.
Frank, what do you think about that? Yep.
I do.
Really?
I view great shows like great coaches when it comes to managing a roster. I'd rather cut a guy a year too early than a year too late. And this show, it was, to me, watching the show, it was never meant to be a long series. I think anytime you're trying to supplant the leader and find an heir, it shouldn't take 6, 7, 8 seasons. Give me 40 to 55 great episodes. Let everything matter from scene to scene. Don't give me no filler, and let's end on a high note. Like I'm really, and I think HBO's doing a good job of all their shows of finding a middle ground of knowing when to end shows and ending at its height, because for me it increases the lore of the show if you end on a high note than watch it go down by the wayside 3 or 4 seasons too late.
Yeah, I concur. I was kind of shocked when I saw the announcement that this would be the last season, only because this is so successful and you could just see this going on maybe 1 or 2 more seasons. But yeah, everything that Frank just said, I think it was the right time. And I think where each character has gone through an arc that probably looked, from the outside looking in, looked like it could have taken 7 seasons, you know what I'm saying? And all just to get to this point. I think each character is at a perfect jumping off point on this show. So I'm cool with it. I don't think anything's going to be left unsaid or undone once this is over, 9 weeks from now.
Yeah, I think that it could have gone maybe 1 more year. I think 5 seasons would have been a good jumping off point, or a good point to end. It kind of feels like, the show is going out on at the top of its game, but maybe a little bit too early. It's kind of like, Michael Jordan, he retired 3 times, right? So the first time he retired was 93, and that was that was shocking. But at 93, he was 10 years in, the most famous person in the world, arguably the greatest player in the world at that time. To me, it feels like if he'd retired in 91 or something, or middle of the season, 91, 92, you're really? It seems a little early, but this is a great show. And if they need ideas for another season, or if they want to come back, I've got a crossover idea. I thought about this. It's kind of a what if scenario. Can y'all imagine if Tony Stark, played by Robert Downey Jr., was in some kind of a scenario where the Roy kids like try to buy Stark Industries. Like, think about that storyline. And then like this is pre-Endgame. Then post-Endgame, of course, spoilers for Avengers Endgame, Tony Stark dies. Then after you have
What?
Yeah, I don't know exactly. I'm sorry. It was 4 years ago. I'm sorry to spoil that for you. After Endgame, Pepper and Happy and Rhodey have to like fight off the kids from taking over Stark Industries. Thoughts? Like, what do you think?
And imagine Tony Stark was the worst father. Like, it's completely despise his own kids. Like, that would be something. I'll watch that show. I'll watch that movie or show, whatever though.
I just want to see Robert Downey Jr. deal with like Jeremy Strong and Kieran Culkin. I want to hear the back and forth. Obviously, the only problem with this clearly is the fact that Marvel and the MCU and Tony Stark is a Disney character, whereas Succession is on an HBO show, Warner Brothers Discovery. So maybe instead of Tony Stark, you have Bruce Wayne. Maybe it's a Batman thing. I don't know, but I feel like for the Watchers crowd, we need to inject some comic book flavor, and that's what I would do. Frank, you're laughing. What are your thoughts on this?
It's so crazy. I will watch that shit. I really would. It sounds fucking bonkers, but give me Tony and Kendall in the same fucking room, man. That's gold. It's gold.
I think it'd be great. So let's get to it. Okay. The first episode, season 4, titled The Munsters. Overall thoughts on the episode, the season 4 premiere. Frank, what do you think?
I think it's more of the same. I mean, just high quality, octane, stressful, long pause TV. Like, I mean, anytime an episode circles around negotiation and going from the patriarch to the progenies, it's always gonna be great TV. So many times in the past, you see the kids lose badly, like get spanked and go home.
Yep.
And so to see an episode of them actually like measuring up and like really like giving their dad competition, it's a change. It's a change in pace. And like again, I think when it comes to the show, man, the negotiations in this show is the best I've ever seen on any television show, any movie I've ever seen before. And when Brian Cox speaks, I listen. Like he's gold, bro. Like you don't know what he's gonna say. You don't know what mood he's in from scene to scene. Like he's so erratic as a leader, but like this erraticness that he possesses has worked for the better part of 50 years. So it was a great show. I give it an 8 out of 10.
For me, like just kind of talking about like the negotiation thing, like I know Billions was like the first show that I watched where you just kind of see like this back and forth with like negotiations, and there's a lot of jargon.
Yeah.
That can, because sometimes I know this is what got me lost with Succession when I first tried to watch it. It's like the jargon of it is like, what the fuck are we talking about? But I love how they make negotiations seem so commonplace. Right? And I guess it's because the show also wants us to remind us that these people are idiots outside. Like Logan Roy, like these are not the smartest people on planet Earth. So like you don't really get super complicated negotiation talk. Like you get numbers and stuff like that, stock options, like stuff that you can kind of follow much easier, which makes it much more accessible. Like this is much more accessible show than Billions is on a bunch of levels. Episode 1, I absolutely love, and I love that we got to see the kids' best Logan, even if it may be temporary. Right after the season 3 finale, which they lost by 25, you know, like free throw death.
I would be up 10 at halftime.
Like serious, like I love how we kind of see that contrast, because I would have never guessed that episode 1 would have started off with the kids winning, right? Also loved how it continues where season 3 left off, and where the kids they ran off, they licked their wounds, and you know they found a way to unite and like start to work together, which was their biggest kryptonite over the first 3 seasons. Like they can never fully get on page with each other. And they got on page and they got a win, which is nice. But the other thing I loved about this episode was that also, besides, the kids winning the negotiation against their father, we see some things in this show that kind of foreshadow like ending, right? But this is all in episode 1. So like there's so many different things we can go. Logan at the diner with Colin, essentially talking about, discussing his own mortality,
right?
And what happens afterwards. Like this is something that clearly foreshadows the end of the season and the end of the series. Shiv and Tom, calling it quits. That's something we would expect towards the end of the season, and they got that. They gave that to us literally at the end of the first episode. Logan alone, like these are things that, like I said, like normally occur towards the back end of a series, and they gave it to us in episode 1. So like there's so many endless possibilities for where the rest of this season can go. So perfect jumping off point for me. I give it a 9 out of 10.
I want to speak to that real quick about Shiv and Tom. You made a point that you saw their downfall more towards the end of the series, like 6, 7 seasons in or 8 seasons in.
I mean, like the end of the season.
Oh, end of the season.
Like
okay,
episodes,
I got you. Because I thought they would be done last season. Like I think a lot of times in marriages, man, especially when somebody marries into a powerful family, you become so subservient to a fault. And I think with Tom, and Tom comes from money too. Tom's not a billionaire, but Tom comes from money too. So I think with Tom, after a while being stepped on and being like treated like, a stepson, or treated like a stepchild to his own wife, like there were scenes last season that made me cringe. And I couldn't tell if Shiv meant it one way or the other. There was a scene where she said, "Oh, I don't love you. I don't fucking love you." Like, and she said it with such a straight face, and I couldn't tell if she was joking or not. And then to me, the downfall last season when she pretty much was like, "Hey, hubby, take the fall, go to prison. It's cool. Like, yeah, I know we're newlyweds, but it's cool." Like, I think when anybody weak or strong goes through that, you put your backs against the wall at that point. And I think Tom was like, well, shit, my own wife doesn't have my back. What the fuck? How can I ever trust you? And it just made sense to take the deal with Logan and just try your chances there.
Yeah, he said like just what he told Kendall. He's like, hey, I keep seeing you get fucked. Never seen Logan get fucked. Like, not a single time. I'm gonna rock with that horse. That's the horse.
Yeah.
But Shiv, she's proxy for her dad. Like the methods that she's learned of like dishing out pain, even especially to the ones your loved ones. That all comes from Logan Roy.
Or her mother.
Both.
her mother's is a emotionless monster. You saw how she treated her kids in London. That shit was cringeworthy too.
Yeah, no doubt about that. The thing about the Tom and Shiv relationship is the power dynamic has shifted, right? So Shiv has always kind of been in control, and that's how she likes it. Now she does like when Tom, fights back and stands up, but only to a certain point. After what happened in the season 3 finale, where Tom is the one who kind of ratted out the kids' plans to Logan, she felt betrayed, and that's continued. That's a big part of this why they're headed for divorce, but also the fact that like she has to be in control and she's not in control anymore. And so you kind of see that play out through this episode, especially at the end of this episode.
Yeah, for sure. It's one of those things where I think with the 4 kids, well, three of the 4 kids, they have to beat up on the little guy to get like achieve any type of confidence in what they're doing. Because all these kids are all, even Connor, all these kids are all low confidence. They're all insecure of themselves. They know when it comes to business with ATN or Waystar, they're biting off more than they can chew. And a lot of it's Logan's fault, like not prepping them, not treating them with respect, and like giving them the tools to be successful long term to overtake this company. But they love beating up the little guy, whether it's Kendall with his assistants, whether it's Rome with the prostitutes that he fucks with. Like they all treat lesser people like animals, like they're nothing, because that's how in proxy they got treated by their father.
I mean, shit, Tom's the same way. Like everybody, all of them, it's like I guess another trope that continuously comes up is that as soon as somebody gets access to that privilege, the way that they demonstrate that they have said privilege is to beat up on the next, closest subordinate. Tom, as soon as Greg comes about, Tom immediately recognizes, hey, this is somebody I can beat up on. Oh, I can take the pain that I'm getting from Shiv, that Shiv is getting from her father, and put it towards him. It's just like it's a trickling down of just the shittiness. And yeah, like what we've also seen is that what Marcy's in, like everybody has a breaking point. Tom's breaking point came last season when he had to choose between his dignity, his freedom, and Shiv, and he chose essentially his marriage, and he chose Logan. And all the breaking points look different. Obviously, Kendall has had several breaking points. Wanting to unseat his father in season 1. Season 3, like, was at the end of season 2, like implicating Logan and the crew stuff, like all of this stuff, like finally coming to the point where he had to like confide in his siblings and like have them start to like band together. Like that was his 3 breaking points. They've all had different breaking points because of this long history of abuse from both parents and the lack of respect that they get from pretty much everybody. Like nobody respects those kids. Like none of the other people who are under Logan respect them. Like other companies, other people, like people that try, acquisition, that they're into. Like they don't really get that full respect because Logan's never shown them that respect, and he's never propped them up as people to be respected. So everybody who comes into that orbit automatically knows that it's Logan versus the kids. And they also know that Logan's the one that you obviously will want to side with.
I wonder how much now, watching 3 seasons in the episode in now, I wonder how much of it is, and anyone you guys can answer this question, but I wonder how much of this Logan not prepping his kids, not be able to develop an heir out of these 4 fuck ups. I wonder how much of it is Logan wanted to be revered as a legend, even when he's gone, and shown that, yes, if this company fails, it failed because I wasn't here or because I passed on, and me being regarded as a legend forever.
Justin,
I don't know that he cares about that. Like, because as we see in this episode, he's talking to Colin at that diner or wherever they go after his, he gets away from his birthday party. He's asking him about, the afterlife. And if, he's talking about, what are people, and people are just a part of markets, whether it's a marriage market or a money market or a business market. And you can see he doesn't have a whole lot of regard for people in general. So I don't know that he really is worried about that. I think it's one of those things where he's in this scenario, largely out of his own doing, but I don't think if he could do it again, I don't think he would do it any differently. This is his life. This is the way it is. I think he wants to, and in this episode, he's about to sell a big part of his company. It's 48 hours away from Gojo, this tech company coming in and buying a big part of his company, right? I mean, he's going to keep ATN, which is his Fox News like cable channel, but a lot of it's going to be gone. And you can tell, like, Tom is like trying to, hey, congratulations, you landed this big deal. But I think for Logan, it's all about like it's about the journey. It's not the end result. Like he doesn't care about the championships or whatever. He likes the negotiating and just being in the game, and the game is ending for him. Right. And and maybe the game of life in general is ending for him. We've seen him have a lot of health problems in this 4-season show, but I don't think I don't know. I think he wants his kids to he wants somebody to step up and take it and earn his respect. I don't think he cares about other people's view of his company or anything else. I don't know. What do you think, Tristan?
I think he cares about the next kill. I think Logan is a shark, and he can only see what's in front of him. Like you said, he doesn't care. He wouldn't care about winning championships. He would care about the next championship, right? Up until the point that he won said championship, and then it's okay, what is the next champ? Or really, when's the next time I can get back on the court and destroy somebody?
Right. It's about being in the game. Yeah.
Right. It's all about being in the game. For him, and I think that's another reason he never fully prepped his kids for these positions, is because he can only see himself as the head of said thing. He literally gave it to Shiv. He offered it in name only. But that was all a ploy. He does not see anybody as a success. And I think one of the hidden themes of Succession is that nobody can be the successor. Nobody can follow him because he won't allow it to happen. Right? He'll burn the shit to the ground before he lets somebody else take it. Right. I don't even think it's not about legacy. He's the anti-Tywin. Whereas Tywin was trying to force a round peg into a square hole with Jaime as the head of the family, and Jaime was never meant to be that, right? And he didn't respect Cersei enough, and he had contempt for Tyrion, but he at least said, hey, this is the person I'm grooming, this person I love, I want this person to be the next up in our family. There's none of that with Logan. He's essentially handicapped all 4 of his kids, and now he gets to now they're just people that he can laugh at and ridicule for being handicapped. All he cares about is that kill. That's it.
But is that more so not prepping the kids, more so saying that y'all can't do this shit without me? This shit's not successful without me, which hence would say my legacy, as far as me being the de facto reason why this company is so successful over the last 4 or 5 decades?
I mean, maybe, but that's way more forward thinking than I think even Logan is. I think Logan is just what's in front of me right now? Is this deal? Okay. Oh, the kids are going against. Now I'm devoting all my energy towards that. And Justin said, he doesn't really have a huge regard for people. People who don't have a huge regard for humans in general tend to extend that to their loved ones as well, because sometimes the lines get blurred between stranger and family, right? Especially when your interests are not aligned, when there's conflicts of interest, and we have those in spades with this family. So I think it's not just him saying they can't do it without me. It's I don't want anybody to do this, because somebody succeeding me will essentially be competition, right? Because they'll either do it better, they do it worse, whatever. They're competition, and he sees everybody as competition. And what we see in this episode is him begging for that competition. He's begging for somebody to go back at him. He's begging for jokes. He's begging for some type of stimulation, because he gets that in the back and forth, the banter, the insults and stuff like that. And he's just not getting it at this moment.
But that's where the hypocrite nature comes from. He's made his career crushing people. He's made his career creating this arena to where nobody can at him. And now that he's at the end of his line, now he's trying to act like he wants competition. No, you don't. You want competition when you can control the temperature in the room. You don't want real competition. You never did.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because not only is he maybe isolated business wise, but he's also isolated from his family. In this episode, it opens where it's at his birthday. They're having a birthday party. He absolutely hates it. His family isn't there. And I'm not saying I think he loves his kids on a certain level, but he definitely misses them, right? Even though he doesn't get along with any of them particularly that well, he misses them. And he's at this party, and there's all these hangers, all the hanger-ons are there, right? All the people that feed off of him, and he doesn't want to be a part of it. And he does. Don't y'all think he misses the kids? I mean, Carrie, his assistant or whatever she is, she basically calls the kids and says, "Hey, would really be great if you could call your dad," and then of course we get a hilarious back and forth of, "Oh, well, he's got to text us first or call us first or whatever." But he misses the kids, right?
I think he misses them from a point of like being able to like shun them when he has opportunity to, when they're in the same area. I don't think, because I think to love and miss somebody, there's level of vulnerability, and he's one who's lacked vulnerability. I think his love is very conditional. I think his love goes in seasons with his children, depending on what they have to offer as far as like the value to the company and what he's trying to build. So his love is very conditional. It's kind of like Tywin, and from the standpoint that the love is only conditional to what they can provide for him as a de facto leader of Waystar.
And I think he actually misses. I think there's a part of them, but it's buried so deep within the contempt that he doesn't really know how his body rejects it. Like, because the kids are not there, he essentially kind of replaces them with Greg briefly, like, or when Colin takes him to the diner, like, "Hey, you're my best friend, best guy, whatever the hell, best pal, whatever." That's him physically reacting to the feeling of missing his children. Like, he just doesn't know how to deal with that, because that's a level of vulnerability that he's probably never felt.
Yeah. You mentioned cousin Greg. So cousin Greg, he is a cousin, but as he says, he's an honorary kid at the birthday party, and he brought a date. He had a +1, and I thought this is part of the episode that I thought was going to be something else that it totally wasn't. I thought the date was actually a reporter or somebody trying to get information about the family, and maybe she will be down the road. But I don't think so. But it seemed like that's where they were angling, because like they kept showing her and she had her cell phone out. She's like taking videos or whatever. And then of course we see that she just was trying to get a selfie with Logan, and she was like, just whatever. But
and was she the one that tagged the Bun Pierce from that party? I don't think they ever said it, but
they didn't say it. Yeah.
Mentioning of like Instagram and getting tagged and stuff,
right.
And, trying to get selfies. So I'm thinking maybe.
Yeah, and that whole Pierce thing, that was, Tom is now one of Logan's new confidants, right? After what happened in episode, or in the season 3 finale. And Tom is basically the one that tips off the kids that Logan is looking to acquire Pierce after all these years, after back and forth. Pierce is kind of this legacy media company. I believe they have newspapers. I think it's kind of meant to be like a New York Times, like newspaper division that, go ahead.
But didn't they mention that last season that Pierce Media was like a dinosaur at the time?
Right.
Like, why would you want to purchase something
it's a big brand, like as you saw with this episode, it opens with the kids and they're working on their new media company, the 100, right? And it's funny because they're talking about it and they're doing like a demonstration with people, and you hear Roman at one point, he's like, "Oh, it's like clickbait, but for smart people." Like that's what the 100 is going to be. It's going to be this media website that's, culture and sports and news and all kinds of stuff. But then whenever they find out, hey, we can potentially get in on this bidding or cause a bidding war with Dad and get in on this legacy media company. I mean, they know that that newspapers are dying, but like if you were to buy the New York Times, that means way more than a startup called the 100. You know what I mean? Like that's just, why wouldn't you do that?
Perfect encapsulation of the kids themselves and like how impulsive they are. Like,
right.
You've been planning this out for months.
Right.
Love these. I came up with all these ideas. You could even get a compliment from Roman to Kendall, like, "Hey, you worked your ass off. You got all these editors and writers and stuff," and like just the blink of an eye, not because I don't even think they want Pierce that much, but because they know that it's an opportunity to best their father. They immediately just jump ship off that, and like that is them. These are people to root for.
I just feel like it's a big dick move for no reason. Like, because like part of the bad vibes between Kendall and Logan is that Kendall represents himself as this new school guy multimedia, social media, the internet, and Logan's more old school, print, paper, magazines, and they had like they keep butting heads on like how modern news should be portrayed. And Kendall stands on this. He stood up for like the last 2 seasons. So to be like the guy spearheading this deal, or not spearheading it, but like being in cahoots with his siblings to like buy this very dinosaur company, and like you're not buying it for like a few $100 million. You're buying this for like 10 billion. Like that makes no sense to me. You pretty much gonna get everything you said about old school media for the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like what Tristan said. They don't know a lot about anything, and I think one of my favorite parts of the episode is just the talk about. There's a lot of talk about money, of course. These are super wealthy people, but I love the talk about money in the sense that none of the siblings really understand the value of a dollar or what it really means. I mean, whenever they're negotiating with Nan, who is the patriarch of this Pierce company, PGM, she's playing the like, she's trying to drive up the number, and she's telling them stuff like, oh yeah, this is such a horrible thing, it's so confusing, and I don't want to talk numbers, it's horrible, I feel horrible, and I feel like I'm in a bidding war, and it's like,
how quickly can you get there?
right.
You guys get here,
right. She's creating a bidding war. And this is probably my favorite line. She says, people are just saying numbers. They're saying, 8 or 9 as in billion. She's like, what comes next? And Roman's like, he's like, I know it's so confusing. Like, what comes after 9? Is it 9B?
Classic.
I thought that was such a great line. And then, as we see in the episode, Logan, their bid is 7 billion, right? 7, which a lot of money, obviously. The kids have already bid 8, right? And then they escalate it to, well, we think dad's going to do 9.5, so we better go 10. They go from 8 to 10 billion like that. And once again, Roman's kind of like the one who's like, hey, do y'all know what an extra $500 million is? Like, $500 million is $500 million. It's a million is 1,000,000, right? So 500 times $1,000,000 of actual money. Like, him breaking that down is so perfect because they are just throwing these numbers out. Like, if it would have been 13 billion, they would have been like, well, let's do 15. Like they're just going to keep upping the ante to us. I mean, they're very wealthy, but at a certain point, even they don't have an unlimited amount of money, like
that's the crazy thing. Like you're throwing around 8, 9, 10 billion. It makes me wonder because during the show, we don't really know these kids' net worth. How much bread do they have to be throwing around $10 billion?
They're each going to get like 3 billion from this Gojo. If this Gojo thing goes through, which we're led to believe it's like 48 hours away. If it goes through, I think they said that they would each get 3 billion. So that's 9 right there. And then whatever they who knows how much they have. They probably all are billionaires on their own. I would assume, or very close.
That's crazy. That's crazy to just say, fuck it, 10 billion. Let's
well,
like,
and then they're gonna have investors too.
Yeah, that's why they were kind of going back and forth with tell us whatever.
Yeah, financial advisor.
Yeah.
Who offered absolutely nothing.
That Harvard business degree line by Rome was just like that was classic, bro. Like this is why I fuck with Rome so much, dog. This motherfucker, like the level of like just. Like sarcasm is it just comes natural to him.
Well, I mean, they insult everyone all the time, and that's why it's such a great show. But to kind of stick on that a little bit, you talk about the money factor. So in the beginning of the episode, we learned that they're going to start this 100, right? And they've gotten investors from like the Middle East, which obviously there's a lot of money over there, a lot of oil money, and I thought this was also a pretty funny part of the episode where whenever they find out, they're about to have this big like meeting with their investors on this 100 that they're going to start this new company. Well, right before that, they find out about, hey, Pierce might be available. And I think dad's going after it. So we've got to go after it. And they're trying to make that decision. And they're telling these investors who've flown in from Dubai or wherever they have to wait or whatever. And Kendall had such a great line. He said, he tells his assistant, he's like, Jess, just find them a journalist to burn with cigarettes while they wait. Because obviously they're known for some pretty
killing journalists.
and pretty terrible things in those countries. But
I don't know. Cancel for that. I don't know how you don't get like it's amazing the shit they say on this show that really wouldn't go well in the real world.
It's a subtext that we know that these are horrible people. Like,
and I love that, like, when they're trying to convince each other that they should definitely go for Pierce and drop this 100 idea. I like how sincere that Kendall's like, you know what? We're New Gen Royce. We have a fucking song to sing. Like, I love like that. Like, it's so ridiculous to say that, but he believes that. Like, that's the thing. It's like these people have a ton of money, but they know nothing. But they're full of shit. But I mean, everything's worked out for them, So why wouldn't this work?
I have a question for you guys. So we know Nan and Logan are like mortal enemies. They don't fuck with each other. They're rival conglomerates. Rival companies.
Yeah.
Do you think Nan purposely drove the price up to stick it to Logan for the kids to buy? Was that, you think that was a plan all along?
I don't think that was the initial plan because I don't think she knew the kids were going to find out about it. Because the way they found out was because Naomi Pierce, which is someone who Kendall was with, was apparently had gone on a date or had been seen with Tom, who is Shiv's soon-to-be ex-husband, and Tom calls Shiv to let her know that, hey, like, I was hanging out with Naomi Pierce, just giving you a heads up. And that's how, like, Shiv puts it together. So I don't think that Nan was gonna. I'm sure she loved the bidding work because it meant more money, but I don't think she was going to get the kids involved because I don't think she thought the kids had the capital to get involved.
Or do you think Naomi Pierce was put out by Nan, kind of pimped out to where they were seen in public to where it gets back to the kids?
Maybe.
That's
possible. Yeah. Yeah.
That Nan chick, man. Like, oh my God.
Hey, Nan might be a Lena Tyrell, bro. I think she planning all this shit because at the end of the day, bro, like, they don't fuck with each other, Nan and Logan. They're old bitter rivals, and one thing about old people, they will never bear the hatchet. They'll never bear the hatchet. And if she can stick it to Logan, will last one last big hurrah before she sells and sells out. I think she would do that just to stick it to Logan. I really would.
She did mention, like, well, I think she strategically mentioned this, but like the stuff that's happening with her family, divorce, and like this accident in Maine, all these things, like, I think she's absolutely playing him. And it's remarkably plausible that she set out Naomi to entice Tom. Like, these are just things like I can see that happen, right? But like she's absolutely playing him. And they're too stupid to get it, then because they're so laser focused on their father that they don't see how she's playing both of them against each other, which is so ironic because this is a Logan Roy special of playing people against each other.
And think about this. Naomi is the Kendall. She in that multiverse. She's the fuck up version of Kendall for the Pierce family. Yeah. And I can see Nan saying, "Hey, you fucked up for a long time. You're a drug addict. You are promiscuous. You're embarrassing to the family. Do me this one solid. Make all this worth it before I sell out."
Yeah, no, I think it's very, like y'all said, it's very plausible. I think it's like a little, maybe too many like breadcrumbs to have to put together. But in this world that they've created, which is, not super different than the real world, I could definitely see it happening. Nan, it's not like she has a gun to her head. She could let this play out for as long as it needs to play out, right? She doesn't have to sell. Yeah, you could tell she, like I said, she's definitely playing into the fact that, oh, woe is me, and I've got a headache, and I can't deal with all these numbers, and I feel so dirty and awful that we're talking about money, but then right away she's like, well, what's your offer? And oh, we need to think about it, talk about it.
It's like, is there potential for growth? Like she's
right. Yeah, totally. And after, once it's all said and done, whenever the kids, I guess they have the winning bid, we're made to believe that the 10 million is enough to win. we get the only interaction that the kids have with their dad when Tom calls, puts Logan on speakerphone, and he tells him, "Congratulations for on saying the biggest number, you fucking morons." Like,
but I think Logan sees the long con.
Yeah.
And I think that's why he was much more conservative, not conservative, $8 billion, but like he started, I think the first number they mentioned was 5. And Tom was like, hey, we soft floated 5. And without thinking that the kids and their, impulsiveness would come in and completely fuck that up. But kids are fuck ups.
Yeah, speaking of fuck ups, maybe the most fucked up and the most clueless, I think, by far of all the Roy kids is Connor Roy. And once again, the lack of understanding about money. Connor, of course, is running for president. He has absolutely virtually no chance of winning. And he is very worried about in this episode about maintaining his 1% in the presidential polls. And he so much so that he's trying to convince his girlfriend, fiance, who is a former escort turned, she's like an aspiring artist or playwright or whatever.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so he's trying to convince her to have a stunt wedding in order to get his name in the media cycle so that he doesn't have to spend, $100 million on basically nothing. Like he's explaining it to Greg, he's like, I don't want to lose my 1%. I don't want my 1% to get squeezed. And Greg is like, you mean squeezed down? And he's like, 1's the lowest number possible. And then Connor's like, no, there's decimals. Which I thought was hilarious.
Connor's top 3 characters for me. Oh my God, he is a joy. Like that is a adorable idiot, like adorable, highly patriarchal, sexist idiot. Oh my God, it's amazing. And shout out to Willa. Is the performance that she did in this episode is I think her character is also like blossoming because she has the burden of trying to assuage like a lot of his impulses and just completely stupid ass ideas. Well, also kind of long conning him too. Like all these kids are getting long con. Like because she at least recognizes, hey, I may be miserable. I may not love this dude or like this dude at all, but at least he's rich and can take care of certain things and I can benefit. And I don't blame her because Connor's kind of doing the same thing. Just kind of using her as like a buffer or just a trophy that he can put next to his very invisible dreams of like power and anything prestige like that he'll never get outside of the Roy name. So that the relationship dynamic between those two is always fascinating to watch.
Yeah, you can see like when he's trying to convince her to have this stunt wedding, that she's like, "No, it's a terrible idea." But she's getting to where she like wants to say like no, but she doesn't really feel like she can just yet. But the part about this it's really funny is he's talking about trying to keep this 1%. He's like, if I drop below 1%, I'll truly be the laughing stock of the country. It's like you already are, dude. Like you're already the laughing stock. It's like and then I do like how cousin Greg's his date asked them. They're saying like, we're not going to need to spend like $100 million. And she's like, oh, what will that do if you spend $100 million? Will that get you back in the race? And they're like, oh no. And she's like, well, what does it really do? And she's like, well, nothing. It just kind of keeps us in the conversation.
It maintains the 1%.
Yeah, 1% keeps us in the conversation, but it doesn't help us at all, really. Besides that, and then then you see Willa like talking to him, like, yeah. So if you lose $100 million, you're still going to be rich, right? He's like, yeah, just with less than $100 million. Like,
so 2 things here. So one, I absolutely forgot that he was trying to run for president because so much happened in season 3.
I know.
It's so much happened in season 3, right? So like when I heard in season 3, I was like, oh, he's probably on shrooms. It's a shroom binge. By episode 8 or 9, he'll get over this shit and like move on to the next thing. So when it's brought back up that he's trying to run for president, he has a 1% stat on the board as far as public opinion or whatever like that. I remembered like last season Logan is backing another presidential candidate.
Yeah.
So your father is backing a candidate that's not you, and yet you still think you have a chance to win?
These kids and Connor, maybe more than all of them, are dying to be taken seriously. At least with, Kendall, Shiv, and Roman, they have ATN, right? They have Waystar Royco where they can at least make a mark in some type of way and say, hey, we're doing something. They gave Connor a ranch, and just like, hey, manage this ranch. Like this is the extent of the responsibility that he's given. Like, and he's been dying to be taken seriously from the joke. And he said it like, hey, y'all think I'm a joke. And he completely lacks any type of self-awareness because he's always been a joke. Always. Like, just walking into the room, he's a joke. And the only thing that he has that can be taken seriously is money. That's it. And that can't even be taken seriously because he knows nothing about money. He knows nothing about how to make it, how to, invest, blah, blah, blah. Like, he is completely dependent upon his father and his siblings for like any type of semblance of anything when it comes to money or just respect. So like this, of course, Connor will go from like if you think about all the harebrained ideas he's had so far, of course he would say, I want to run for president. He would see that all the way through because lack of self-awareness.
But it makes me wonder. It makes me wonder too, like, because he's the oldest, right? Like, he's the oldest out of the 4 kids, and like, as disillusioned as he is, as far from reality as he is, a lot of times in the family dynamic, that's typically the baby. That's typically the disillusioned, out of like not really one with reality. Very rarely you see that with the oldest child, which makes one to believe, like, I want my psych hat on this one. I wonder how much older he is than Kendall, and I want to know how he was raised, because as disillusioned as he is, it appears that he was raised very differently. I don't know if he was coddled as a child, as being the firstborn and the only child for a while.
Well, he has a different mother than the other 3.
Yeah.
But he's older than the other 3 too. He's the oldest.
Yeah, I think he's probably, I would say, like probably 8 to 10 years older than Kendall, maybe somewhere in that range. But I think we found out like what season 3 or season 2 that he went a few years without ever seeing Logan as a child. So like he was raised separately for a while, and so that probably plays into this. As far as like, not like, that's the thing about Shiv and Kendall and Roman. Like, they know how to fake it, right? Like, Kendall knows all the words, right? He knows everything to say. And I think Roman knows some things. And I think Shiv is the most together of the 3. But when you have Connor, he's just out to lunch. Like, he's in the outfield by himself, like he doesn't know anything. Basically.
Which is why he's the quickest one to defer to Logan. Like,
right.
He's like, hey, I don't want to fight. He'll say, I don't want to fight. Like, at least the kid, the other 3 kids will put up a fight. Connor is under no pretenses of ever putting up a fight. He will move himself off to the side. He will just completely kowtow, bow down to Logan at the first sign of conflict. Like, that's not what he's in it for, which is, again, ironic that this is somebody who has visions of like running for the highest office in the land, like, which is all about conflict.
Yeah. So what are y'all's thoughts on the Disgusting Brothers? Their name, is that, Frank, you like that?
Brothers.
It seems like something from like a Will Ferrell movie. It sounds so stupid, and like the actions follow it. So it's funny that Greg is like the womanizer out of the tandem. That's even more funny to me out of him and Tom. And it's a bad nickname, but it's even funnier like in practice.
For me, it's like, again, like I said, getting that access to privilege is what changes you. Like, you don't know how you'll react to the perks and the fame, the notoriety, the money until you get it. And Greg, obviously Greg comes from privilege. But Greg also had, because of his, his mother and like just the estrangement from his grandfather to Logan, like he's had to come up in a way where his privilege was kind of like delayed. And yeah, now he has it all. Now, he's a big wig. Now he's completely he gave up his inheritance to rock with Logan, continue to rock with Logan. And we're seeing somebody who's getting that first taste of like all this privilege and money and fame, and like this is what we're getting, right? This is why I love Cousin Greg, because he, in certain ways, he was so innocent in season 1. He talked about like how his values pretty much didn't align with ATN, like the news division. He has like tried to step in certain times for like the little guy, at least look out for the little guy, because he understands what it's like to be overlooked and be the little guy, so to speak, dude 6'7". But he like it's complete change. Like the kids are gone, like he's jockeying for position with Logan. Like we're seeing like the new Greg. Like, and I that's why I love his character, because you could replace Greg with anybody, honestly. Like anybody getting access to their privilege, and we just kind of see how they devolve or evolve as people.
Yeah, I think, as we saw at the end of season 3, when he was always kind of aligned with Tom. He's always been kind of like Tom's crony, or Tom kind of was like kind of bullied him into it. We saw it at the end of season 3. Tom's like, "Hey, do you want to make a deal with the devil?" And Greg's like, "Yeah." He's like, "What do I need a soul for anyway?" Like he decides to go for it. And I'm really interested to see like what happens with that character. I mean, really, all these characters, like I'm just fascinated by what's going to happen, how they're going to how the season's going to go. Like this episode gave us a lot, but one of the things I'm disappointed we didn't get to see, there was no Jerry and Roman scene or no communication, because I want to know like how that's going to progress or end or whatever, where Jerry is like this kind of motherly mentor figure for Roman, but then Roman has taken it to this like weird sexual place with her. So like to me, like when that came about, like what was that in season 2? I was just like, what are they doing with this show? Like, I mean, it's like the craziest stuff, but it works. And I'm interested to see what happens with those characters. And Cousin Greg also, because I feel like he's such a wild card given where he's, where he started and where he's going now. In the picture, in the promotional photo for the season, of all the characters, he's kind of standing in the back and he's like looking at him kind of differently. And I'm like, is he going to be the killer? Is he going to be the one who becomes the new leader of, takes over Waystar Royco? Probably not, but that would be kind of interesting.
I can see Greg moving up in a way that like is pretty substantial though. Guys like Greg never get to the top spot. Like, king stay the king, right? Like, but he can get close enough to it to affect some stuff, and I can see that definitely happening.
And I can also make the argument that Greg, out of the 4 kids, he's the most level-headed out of the 4. I mean, Roy kids. Like he's a guy, to me, when he obtains information, he uses his advantage. Whether it's the lawsuit shit with Tom and the music in the park, or whether it's finding out information about Logan and like the potential where he can go and give up his inheritance. He makes shrewd moves. Like don't let the Opie giddy up attitude confuse you. Like he's a very shrewd guy, and he's very smart. And so when he does come across new information, and he's able to manipulate it in a way to where he's so unassuming, nobody sees him as a threat. And I can make the argument that's when you're most dangerous, when nobody sees you as a threat while you look in the background.
Yeah, he's opportunistic. Like he at first he was like, oh golly gee shucks, whatever, and then now you're kind of seeing him become more of like a villain in the story. So yeah, no, I think it's a great character. I really think all these characters are phenomenal. As we kind of wrap this up, is there anything that y'all are do y'all want to make any predictions for the season? Anything you're looking forward to? What you want to see play out over the next 9 episodes? Tristan?
This may shock you. I'm rooting for Tom and Shiv. Like, I think my prediction, I have no information whatsoever, but I think the reason why they began season 4 with their, impending divorce, is because hopefully we find a way for them to come back to each other at a much more healthy space than the completely fraught way that they began their relationship. Like, Shiv tells him, like, I needed you at the moment. Like, she told him that after their wedding, right after they got married. It's like, hey, I needed you. That's really the only reason why they were together, is because she needed him. And Tom obviously, worships Shiv to a large degree. So I'm rooting for them to come back together towards the end of the season in some type of way. At least, at the very least, there's some type of mutual respect between them. I can see Tom continuing to raise his profile, hopefully build some confidence, drop his nuts in some type of way, stop stuttering all the fucking time when he's on the phone. And hopefully, like that, their relationship, I want to see that, get to a much more healthy place by the end of this series.
Frank, what about you? Anything you're looking forward to? Any predictions you want to make?
I want to know more about Rome's upbringing, man. Like the sexual deviancy of his character. Like they touched on that a little bit in season 2 and season 3, but I mean, I want to know more about that because it makes up so much of who he is as a person. He's such a character that hides behind sexual innuendos and jokes and things of that nature. And I think he's a scared little boy that still is dealing with trauma. And I want to know what that trauma is. So with it being the last season, I don't know if we ever find out, but I would love to know more about that. And then the rise of Greg, man. I want to see where Greg goes, man. Like, I mean, Greg is slowly moving chess pieces in the background. Like, I want to see where he comes out, if he comes up on top. Over the 4 Aurora kids.
Yeah, it's really interesting as far as that, because I don't know. I don't, maybe Logan dies, but otherwise, like, I don't see him giving it up. Like, I feel like he's gonna, maybe the show, and it's called Succession, but maybe there is no succession. The show just kind of ends with same old, the old boss is just like the new boss is like the old boss, or whatever the saying is. So yeah, so, but I mean, great premiere episode. To me, it just was like, it felt like Succession from the jump. Like, it was just like right away, they've got a new thing going with this 100, and they're taking shots at each other, and just a great show. And Marcy has a great comment. Yeah, Greg was going to sue Greenpeace last season.
And tried to get other people on board with.
Right. That, like, Tom's like, you're gonna sue Greenpeace? Like,
the lack of self-awareness with these people is wild, man. Greenpeace, my boy. Like, come on, man.
Because his grandpa donated, his inheritance he gave to Greenpeace. So yeah, I mean, you just never know what you're gonna get with this show. But at the same time, it's one of those shows where every episode kind of feels the same, and like, that's not a knock on it. I feel like every episode is like awesome, and it's just like, I feel like they could keep doing this forever. Now, granted, at a certain point, it's going to get old, so maybe ending it after 4 seasons is the right time to do it. But I'm gonna miss these characters because I think they're so great, and they're just so funny. I love how mean they are to each other, and it's all like, they're just, I mean, I know these people are based on kind of real people, and the stories are kind of based on real stories, but there's no way real people are this entertaining. They're just not. Like, the writers of this show are phenomenal. So
yeah, this is the best show on TV, and like I said, I don't know for sure this is the right time to end it, but there's also so much really great TV on like that. It softens the blow. Like,
that's true.
Bunch of stuff is ending. A bunch of stuff we won't see till 2024, 2025. It's like me bitching about a Kendrick Lamar album. Like albums come out every Friday. Like, I'm good. Like, my Spotify is filled. Like, I'm good. Like, so it also kind of it mirrors just where we are as a society, where there's just so much stuff going on that, hell, Trump just got indicted. Like, and like, okay, am I going to read about that, or am I going to watch the Astros? Like, it's one of the two. Like, so, like, this is where we are as society. So I think it's easier for even a show this successful to end, because it's not like we're going to be sitting here like crying for Succession come 2024, 2025. We'll be looking for the next thing. So, but while it's here, like they're batting as close to 1,000 as you can for a show. So, shout out! Can't wait to see what these next 9 weeks look like. Or 8 weeks.
Yeah. No, I think it's 9, right?
Is it 9? Is it 10?
I think it's 10 episodes. Yeah.
I've seen different reports.
Yeah, because season 1 and 2 were each 10 episodes, but then season 3 was only 9. But I believe season 4 is going to be the full 10. So that'll be good to see.
Speaking of which, did you guys know that House of Dragon will have less episodes in season 2?
I hadn't heard that.
Yeah.
I heard that, but I think it'll be longer episodes too at the same time. I can easily see an hour 30 minute episodes.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Was it 8 episodes or 10 episodes? House of the Dragon.
10.
It was 10. Okay. Did they say how many there were going to be?
Just said less.
Less.
So I'm being 8 or 9.
Okay. Well, that's not good, but it could work out. So anyway, now you know what we think about the first episode of season 4 of Succession. We want to know what you think about it. And how you can do that is, of course, you can watch this here on YouTube, right? Comment, leave your comment in this comment section like Marcy did. We appreciate all your great comments, Marcy. Hopefully we have you join us for one of these shows in the near future. That'd be great. But for those of you who are not going to be joining us for the show, besides checking us out on YouTube, and we appreciate that, please hit the like button, subscribe. We want to get the subscribers up. I think we're like at 236 right now. So let's get that going. Let's get to 300 by the summer. That's a good, reasonable goal. Like in the past year, we got to 100 and 200. So in the same year. So I think we can get to 300 by the summer. So let's do that. But also, if you want to tell us what you think about our episodes or our shows, do it on social media. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We are at Watcher's Basement on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And one second here. Also, whenever you're tweeting about us, you're talking about us on social media, use the hashtag Watcher's Basement. We appreciate it. Let us know what you want us to talk about next. We're going to be talking about Succession for the rest of the season. There's some big movies coming up pretty soon. There's one I'm really looking forward to. Well, there's one next week. Air, the Ben Affleck, Matt Damon movie about it's about Michael Jordan, but not real. There's no Michael Jordan in the movie, but I'm looking forward to that. So
somebody sent me tickets to a premiere that was happening about 15 minutes from now, like free tickets.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, couldn't make it though.
Yeah, no, I will be watching that next week when it comes out. I can't wait for that one. So we might be doing that. Super Mario Brothers is coming out next week, I think also. Of course, superhero stuff is not far away. We got Guardians of the Galaxy 3 in like a month.
Fuck yeah, we do.
We've got The Flash in 2 months, basically, which The Flash is going to be the best movie of the year. I really believe that. Like, I'm not just trying to be silly. Like, I think The Flash is going to be awesome.
How much is DC paying you, Justin? Come on.
They're not paying me anything. Trust me, if they were, I'm open for business. Yeah. Unlike the Roy family, I do know the value of a dollar because I don't have too many of them. So if DC wants to pay me, please do. I'll get my Venmo information out to them and we can get that set up. But in addition to doing this great YouTube show that we do every week, we're also available on audio platforms. So check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. And be sure to give us a 5-star rating. So all that stuff helps. So guys, let's get out of here. Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Go Stros.
Go Stros. Yep. Season opener is happening right now. Frank, what about you?
Connor Roy for president, baby. Let's get it.
Connor Roy 2024 or whatever year it is in the Succession universe. Yeah, go vote.
Disgusting Brothers. I would watch a nice 6-episode miniseries, a limited series of the Disgusting Brothers. I promise you I would.
Tristan, that's a good point. Like, some of these characters could be a part of spinoffs. It's happened before, and I wouldn't be opposed to it either. So we'll see.
Give me a 1-season spinoff of Roman Roy in high school. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
Only if Kieran Culkin can play the high school version of Roman Roy, because no one else can play that character like he can.
Who knew that fucking Macaulay Culkin's brother would be more famous than him?
Bro, isn't that crazy?
That is wild. If you'd have told me that in 1993, I would have slapped you.
Yeah, I don't know if y'all are as familiar with the Home Alone universe as I am, but he played Fuller. And as you know, in that movie, Fuller go easy on the Pepsi. The kid wets the bed. Like, you got to watch out for it.
Dude, if you would told me in 1994 that Kieran would be more popular, I'm like, no, nigga, he made Richie rich. Get the fuck out of here, bro. No, Macaulay Culkin is that nigga. What are you talking about?
Macaulay Culkin was in a Michael Jackson video with Michael Jordan, I think, in the same way.
Macaulay Culkin was hanging out with Michael Jackson.
Yeah, he was. That's a whole other podcast. That's a whole other HBO show. What was it, Finding Neverland or whatever? Yeah. So if you want us to review Finding Neverland, just hit us up. I've seen it, so trust me, I've got thoughts. So, but anyway, as far as Succession, we'll be back. So we're doing this one on Thursday, but starting next Monday, we'll be going Succession every Monday until the May 28th finale. So we're back to our usual time. So check us out then. Until then, though, thanks to Tristan and for Frank for joining me. This is Justin saying thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will see you next time. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Strohs.